Hi, everyone. I'm Elaine Quijano. It is good to be with you. Thanks for joining us. President Biden is trying to lower the bar for vaccination against COVID-19 as the rate of inoculation continues to slow, indicating that most people who want the vaccine have been able to get it. By July 4th, President Biden says he hopes 70% of U.S. adults will have at least their first shot. With 2 months to go, we're at 56% now. He also says the government is sending more doses to rural health clinics and is ready to ship to pediatricians as the FDA reviews Pfizer's vaccines for ages 12 to 15. But for people 16 and older who are eligible now, the government has set up a new website, vaccines.gov. There's also a new text service to find vaccines in your area. Earlier, Mr. Biden stressed the importance of convincing people who are hesitant to get the shot.
Now we're going to have to bring the vaccine to people who are less eager. So we also know that there are millions of Americans who just need a little bit of encouragement to get the shot. There's a lot of misinformation out there, but there's one fact I want every American to know. People who are not fully vaccinated can still die every day from COVID-19. Look at the folks in your community who've gotten vaccinated and are getting back to living their lives, their full lives. Look at the grandparents united with their grandchildren, friends getting together again. This is your choice. It's life and death.
Meanwhile, for Republicans, the day has been focused on the party's third top lawmaker in the House. Congresswoman Liz Cheney's leadership role may be in jeopardy as she continues to stand by her criticisms of former President Trump. Cheney is accusing Mr. Trump of spreading lies about his 2020 election defeat and attempting to downplay his role in the January 6th insurrection. That open criticism dates back to Cheney's vote to impeach the former president, but it's now leading some House Republicans to question her place in the party. Politico reports Congresswoman Elise Stefanik has been calling fellow Republicans, lobbying them to force Cheney out. Here's Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy Tuesday.
There's no concern about how she voted on impeachment. That decision has been made. I have heard from members concerned about her ability to carry out the job as conference chair, to carry out the message. We all need to be working as one if we're able to win the majority. Remember, majorities are not given, they are earned. And that's about the message about going forward. I haven't heard members concerned about her vote on impeachment. It's more concerned about the job ability to do and what's our best step forward that we can all work together instead of attacking one another.
Nikole Killion, Heather Timmons, and Natalie Jennings join me now. Nikole is a CBS News congressional correspondent. Heather is a White House editor for Reuters. And Natalie is a deputy Washington editor at The Washington Post. Welcome to you all. Nikole, let me start with you. We heard the comments there from House Minority Leader McCarthy. How does that square with the report of what he said about Congresswoman Cheney off air?
Well, it doesn't, because he said kind of the complete opposite, according to reports about what took place off camera during that interview. So McCarthy reportedly said that Liz Cheney has real problems, that he's had it with her, that he has lost confidence, and that he assumes someone within the Republican conference would put forth a motion potentially to remove her. He says that he assumes that that will probably take place. Now, again, these are reported comments that the House Minority Leader made based on having a hot mic on, and we don't know if this was during the commercial break or before or after the interview. We're still kind of working to confirm some of those details, but what this does show is that Leader McCarthy appears to be running out of patience with Liz Cheney. You remember, this is not the first time that she has faced challenges to her leadership post before. And when there was a vote taken earlier this year, in Liz Cheney, at the time, McCarthy did have her back on this, and, she did survive that vote of no confidence overwhelmingly. But this time around, it seems that some of the dynamics have changed and are different. And we continue to see both Leader McCarthy and Liz Cheney at odds and on different pages with respect to the role that the former president should play in the party, with respect to the scope of a January 6th investigation, inflation, and several other issues. And so that is what you heard Leader McCarthy referring to on air, that he wants everybody in his party to kind of be on the same page, be, on message. And, many Republicans feel that Cheney is doing anything but. However, she is arguing, and her spokesperson is arguing, that this is really about dealing with the truth, and her spokesperson put out a statement saying this is about whether the Republican Party is going to perpetuate lies about the 2020 election. Liz will not do that. That is the issue. So, Liz Cheney certainly believes that she is standing her ground with respect to the election and what happened, and she simply wants her fellow lawmakers to do the same.
Well, Natalie, this fight is consuming so much of the focus for House Republicans. Where does it seem to be going, and how does it play into the upcoming midterms?
It seems to be just gathering momentum in one direction right now, and that is that Liz Cheney did retain her seat earlier this year, as Nikole said, but this, she did not change her position after that. She has not fallen in line with the rest of the Republican Party, and that has become clearly untenable. Seems to be going in a direction where she's not going to be in that position much longer. There's a lot of people clamoring for that to happen, and it seems like, all the activity is pointing towards some sort of climax for that. I think, Liz Cheney has been very consistent in her rhetoric. This is a little bit more of a Kevin McCarthy story now. What does he do? How does he handle it when he wants to keep his caucus together? And how does he respond to someone who does have a pretty big platform leaving the party? The story is, in my mind, a lot more about his next move.
Yeah, I mean, Natalie, just, to put a finer point on it. So you say Liz Cheney's position hasn't changed. It's Kevin McCarthy that seems to be the story and the focus. Does that portend anything here about the future direction of the Republican Party, something that we've talked time and time again about, and questioning sort of where is the momentum now shifting?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say it's the future of the Republican Party. The current Republican Party is Donald Trump's party. There is no room to not be loyal to him. Even if there's a little bit of dissent at some point, if you don't eventually get in line, it appears that is just not tenable if you want to hold a position in the mainstream of the Republican Party. And so, that may get, even more explicitly the case, but it already is the case and has been.
All right, meantime, Heather, we learned last night that the White House is lifting its cap on refugee admissions, reversing course from initially holding the cap set by the Trump administration. President Biden acknowledged the U.S. won't be able to meet the new 62,000-person goal. So how significant is this in the administration's broader immigration policy?
The Biden administration promised to have a more humane immigration policy all along, but this particular refugee cap was really confounding to immigration advocates. Biden had promised to lift it immediately and then walked back that promise to the point where there were reportedly people actually on airplanes and ready to fly into the U.S. who had been, again, vetted by the refugee process, which takes weeks or sometimes months and has to do with hardship and involves a lot of research. So it is a sign that they felt under pressure, not only from immigration advocates, but also from people within the Democratic Party and the progressive wing of that party, just to live up to exactly what he had promised to do in the first place.
Well, Natalie, on another topic, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen seemed to concede earlier that interest rates may need to rise to prevent what she called overheating in response to economic growth brought by COVID stimulus spending. She's now walked that back a bit. Does this undercut the White House's push for more government investment spending at all?
It certainly could. I mean, confidence in this overall guiding theory that Biden seems to have, that more government will improve the lives of Americans. Well, if inflation starts to have immediate impact after his first very big program while he's still trying to get the next two big programs off the ground, that has enormous implications. And so that's why it's not surprising to see Secretary Yellen come out and really clarify her remarks not too long after she made them this morning. There were immediate market implications, and it would give a lot of political grist, I would think, for Republicans who are already leery of these big packages that Biden wants to get done.
And Heather, the Biden administration sent a letter to landlords via the Federal Trade Commission to comply with the CDC's ban on evictions. It comes after a report covered by Reuters found large corporate landlords filed nearly 70,000 eviction cases in just 27 counties since the pandemic began. How much power does the federal government have in enforcing their ban on evictions?
They do have the power to issue some pretty substantial fines. They go from $200,000 to half a $1 million if an evictor is found to have contributed to someone's death. And this idea of people being homeless is one of the major concerns that you're seeing inside the administration. Separately, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is their top concern right now is making sure that people are not foreclosed on, homeowners, and they are also working and looking at mortgage servicers to see how they're treating them.
Finally, Nikole, Attorney General Merrick Garland testified before lawmakers for the first time since taking the job. What did he have to say?
Yeah, well, there weren't a whole lot of fireworks at this hearing because it was about the budget. So, it was pretty cut and dry from that standpoint. But, this really was the first opportunity for Attorney General Garland to lay out some of his department's priorities. And so chief among them are domestic terrorism, civil rights enforcement, national security, among others. So those were some of the issues that he highlighted during this hearing. He did get some pushback from some members with respect to the scope of some of the administration's programs and proposals, particularly when it comes to combating gun violence and immigration with the current situation at the border. But overall, again, Garland was primarily advocating for some of the proposals and policies that his department would like to put forth.
All right, Nikole Killion, Heather Timmons, and Natalie Jennings, thank you all very much.